In today's presentation, we're going to be talking about stroke, and this is by Aman and Demi. In this presentation, we're going to be talking about what is stroke, the types of stroke, the possible causes and risk factors, the symptoms of stroke, the physiology and pathophysiology, and the statistics. What is stroke? Stroke is also known as a cerebrovascular accident. It can be defined as the loss of brain functions due to disturbance or impairment of blood supply to the brain. There are two types of stroke, which are ischemic and hemorrhagic stroke. Types of stroke. We have the ischemic stroke. Ischemic stroke is the most common type of stroke that affects people. This occurs when an artery to the brain is being blocked. It can be divided into two main types, thrombotic and embolic. Thrombotic stroke occurs when diseased or damaged cerebral arteries become blocked due to the formation of blood clot within the brain. While embolic stroke is also caused by a clot within an artery, but the formation of clot occurs somewhere else in the body, not in the brain. Most ischemic stroke are caused by atherosclerosis, which is also called artery hardening. Atherosclerosis occurs when fat and cholesterol builds up in the arteries or blood vessel, causing arteries to narrow. Hemorrhagic stroke. Hemorrhagic stroke occurs when the blood vessel in the brain ruptures and the blood suddenly begins to bleed into the brain. As a result, the portion of the body that is regulated by the affected region of the brain cannot function properly. What are the possible causes or risk factors? We have the modifiable factors and the non-modifiable factors. The non-modifiable factors consist of age, gender, and race. These are the factors that cannot be changed. And we have the modifiable factors, which are smoking, diabetes, obesity, heart and blood vessel diseases, hyperlipidemia, and hypertension. And these are the factors that can be prevented through changes in lifestyle. According to Government of Canada, stroke affects older people with about 10% of adults aged 65 and older have experienced a stroke. Women and men have similar stroke occurrence in the younger age group. However, men aged 60 years and older have higher occurrence than women of the same age. The pattern is marked differently for the absolute number of people who survive the stroke, although a greater number of men than women are stroke survivors between the ages of 50 and 79 years. Among those ages, 80 and older, the number of women who survive the stroke exceeds that of men. Symptoms of stroke. We have paralysis. Paralysis happens when you develop a stroke in the area in the primary somatosensory cortex, the key part of the brain that allows you to feel stuff. So if it gets damaged, you might end up in changing your sensation, and weakness occurs with the motor cortex in charge of movement. We also have trouble in speaking. Trouble in speaking happens when you have difficulty understanding what others are saying. The stroke affects the key speech areas, which are served by the middle cerebral artery. About 40% of people develop language problem post-stroke. We also have problem with balance and coordination. This happens when stroke occurs in the cerebellum, and this leads to incoordination. The cerebellum is the coordinator of our movement. We also have headaches. This happens when the blood vessel in the brain bursts, causing severe headaches with no known cause. We also have sudden loss of blurry of vision, and we also have dizziness and confusion.
Pathophysiology of stroke. What is the normal homeostasis? The normal homeostasis is that blood should be supplied continuously to the brain for the supply of oxygen and nutrients. So what causes the disturbance in homeostasis during a stroke? When the blood arteries are blocked, the blood supply to the brain gets hampered, thus causing a lack of oxygen and leading a disruption in homeostasis. Since brain cells, especially mitochondria in the cells, use oxygen to produce energy, without a sufficient supply of oxygen they lose their ability to generate energy, particularly ATP. The cell membranes have sodium-potassium pumps. These pumps maintain the normal transmembrane concentration gradients of these ions. They pump sodium out of the cell and bring potassium back into the cell. Without ATP energy, these pumps fail and stop working. Therefore, sodium accumulates in the neuron cell. The sodium ion accumulation leads to cell depolarization, leading to a large influx of sodium ions and efflux of potassium. As a result, water in the ECF goes into ICF and tries to dilute the high sodium concentration in the neuron cell. Therefore, the cells begin to swell, which eventually causes cytotoxic edema. Without enough ATP energy, sodium-calcium pumps, which are responsible to bring sodium into the cell and kick calcium out, they also stop working, thereby causing the calcium buildup inside the ICF. High calcium concentration triggers the release of excitatory amino acid neurotransmitter glutamate from the ends of the neuron, which excites other neurons. Glutamate also stimulates AMP receptors and calcium permeable NMD receptors, which leads to even more calcium influx into the cells. As a result, cells release more glutamate and keep on exciting other neurons, and it causes a cycle of neuron excitement known as ischemic cascade, leading to excitotoxicity of the cell. In this process, excessive calcium entry overexcites the cell and activates proteases, the enzymes which digest cell proteins, lipases, the enzymes which digest cell membranes, and free radicals. When the cell's membrane is broken down, it becomes more permeable and more ions and harmful chemicals enter the cell. Also, the mitochondria, which are responsible for producing ATP energy in the cell, starts to break down and release toxins into the cell. Therefore, cells experience apoptosis and eventually die. Summary. Now that we know the stroke can happen due to blockage of blood vessels as a result of fatty plaque, we can take some steps to avoid this situation. Stroke is a mismatched disease, and our diet plays an important role in preventing this. There are certain risk factors that are under our control. For example, we can avoid smoking, lose weight, exercise regularly to increase blood levels of high-density lipoprotein, and eat a healthy diet low in saturated and trans fats.